G'day everyone. We're gonna go and do the next of the Fear the Bones campaigns. I think we're up to mission 3 now. So yeah, I will get everything started up. Okay, so let's up to First Blood. This will be an interesting mission from the sounds of things. So, situation. So this was one of yesterday's streams, who intercepted the bear. So that's obviously another Tomcat squad. Angels 21, a little lower, but you know, they say 11. I don't think they can hit us at Angels 21 at a reasonable range at least. Fly on bow C, 300 knots at 500 feet until 7 miles. Button 2, check in with focus. Should be the AWACS. And it looks like it's meant to be about an hour, but that's been a bit under, so I'm thinking probably about an hour and a half the stream will go for. Okay. Looks like everything should go well, hopefully. Okay, standard delayed to start for a second, and it looks like we're coming in now. Yep, here we are. Right. Let's get power.
Chief, turn on the ground power.
Jaws, Jester, you're going up again with Caveman and Grip. Call sign Pontiac 1. Since your morning encounter with that bear, we've been providing constant air cover to the Valley Forge. In the last 6 hours, it's been the Black Aces patrolling the area, but now it's 84's turn to go up there again. You're going to fly along the coastline between Tuapsa and Kobuleti at Angels 2-1. Now, SA-11 sites have been reported near Sochi and Sanaki. They might try and scare you off with a radar lock, but we're not at war, so they're probably not going to open fire. Nevertheless, stay sharp. Standoff to the coastline is 25 miles.
The ejection
You don't want to piss off the Soviets even more.
Closing
Remember,
canopy.
ROE is warning yellow, weapons hold. Any questions? Alright, dismissed.
Let's check for all our frequencies that we'll be after. ILS 259 X-ray. So we need to go to departure and flight, so 7. I'll keep 1 in the front and get 7 on the back. So I select channel. Here.
Yep.
Channel 7. Now we're just waiting for the rest of the startup. So we'll get the other engine going. What's our loadout today? Bet you it's 1, 2, 3. 1 54C. So we got 2 M7s, 3 AIM-9s, exactly what I thought. Which isn't great if we're going up against bombers, because bombers AIM-9 does nothing to them. There's not enough punch in such a small missile. Like if you ever look at the size of the Sidewinder there to the Phoenix under the belly, or even the Sidewinder to the Sparrow, there's not enough punch to really do much. It's alright against fighter targets, but not great against a bomber. Uh-oh, that doesn't look great. Looks like they're keeping alert aircraft on a CAT they can't launch, which, you know, seems counterintuitive to me. Got some Audis and maintenance personnel around. Everything is good. So again, we're just waiting for the standard alignment. And Jester will tell us when he's ready. So let's check everything is set up. Get the data link for now tuned to focus, the E2. Now this is something I like to do. So we're selecting stations 2 and 7, which are the fuel tank stations. And the reason we're doing that is under this ACM cover is a button, a jettison button. So if we get into a dogfight, we'll lift the ACM cover because it changes how some of the missiles are launched and makes us ready for air combat maneuvers, which is dogfighting. And then also as part of doing that, we're going to want to drop the tanks because they're quite large and bulky, and if we can get rid of them, then it means that we don't have to deal with that drag. There's a lot higher performance aircraft without tanks, and that's true of any stores. Ideally, if you want a dogfight, you want about half fuel and no external weapons, but you know, we do want some weapons. And if we're getting into a dogfight, I probably don't have a Phoenix on. I've probably already used it. I'd hope I'd used it already. So all we'll have is possibly the Sparrow and then the Sidewinders. And of course we've got the internal gun, which is always quite helpful. Or in a dogfight at least. It's not great in BVR.
We're ready to taxi.
So that was just saying we're ready to go.
Take off checklist, brakes.
Oh.
accumulating pressure up. Fuel. Total feed, auto transfer, dump off, feed tanks full, bingo set. Canopy down, lights out. Lights out up here. Seat arms, top and bottom, command eject aft. I'm on top and bottom, showing MC on the window. SAS. All circuit breakers set.
Yeah, DCS doesn't model that.
Master test. Flyby die. Normal.
Okay. So,
Compass sync, standby gyro erect.
this is the checklist we should be doing, but obviously we
20 degrees, auto, both lights out. Flaps and slats.
I'm checking half
Pull
of
down.
checking the ones that are applicable on DCS.
Spoiler module on, spoiler brake off. Trim. Set. Harness locked. Lights locked. Controls. Here comes the wipeout. To the left. Right. Forward. Feels good. All warning and compass line are out. Ready to go? Ready.
So, the only warning we've got is launch bar, which is good. We should have that one. Means our launch bar is down, which of course it will be because we're being launched. So, need to maintain 300 knots at or below 500 feet until we're 7 miles ahead.
2, form up, go button 2. I'll check in with focus when we leave Mother's airspace. On in, 1, 2.
So what that was saying is we'll get 2 onto the radio of the AWACS, which is the control plane, the big radar one, and we will go over to AWACS once we're out of Mother's airspace. So once we're done this go slow and low procedure, which just makes sure we're not going to collide with anyone waiting to land, then we'll switch over to button 2 and check in with focus. But yeah, 300 knots is quite slow. It's like Hornet speeds. Five miles. So that was just our ride out telling us we're passing through 500 feet, which is fine because we're intending to be this low. Well, actually, we're supposed to be at 500 feet. So 200 feet's okay. Okay, so we can now start our climb, change to button 2, do that.
Focus, Pontiac 1, flight 2 F14's airborne and climbing to waypoint 1. Do you have anything for us?
So we're going to switch to air-to-air mode.
Focus, radar contact, balls 256 for 95. We have a single group at balls 033 for 120, Angels 10. They are tracking west and descending. Push to waypoint 1, Angels 21.
Okay.
Focus, Pontiac 1, copy, pushing to waypoint 1, climbing to Angels 21.
So let's see if we can find where Bulls is supposed to be. We'll chuck the autopilot on here. Fencing check. Okay, so Bulls is close to waypoint 2 and 3. Fixed point is our Bulls. So we could actually get Jester to put that in, but Jester doesn't know how to use it then, and it becomes quite useless. So I am not going to bother. but we should be about here. Try camp here. So we're climbing through 10,000 feet now.
Go ahead, caveman. Dude, what would like to see a bear from up close? I mean, did he try to fight? I was keeping up foreign relations when he somehow found our frequency and tried to insult us. The ghost had him cornered. You know him. Yeah, I wish I had been there. So how'd you scare him off? As soon as I got a hard lock, he shit the bed and turned back to the motherland. Yep, just what I expected. I sure hope we'll see another one.
I don't know.
Why not, bruh?
I don't know, is it really a good thing to be seeing a Russian bomber headed for the carrier? Like, yeah, it'd be cool to shoot one down and intercept one, but or intercept one. I'm not going to shoot it down and then intercept it. But I think I'd rather my bears kept far away from the carrier. And no, this is not a big furry creature. This is a 2U-95 big Russian bomber. Now, RWR's got a big bird, which is an SA-10 radar. Way in there. It's only the search radar. And SA-10s have a pretty good range. Quite deadly, actually. What we're going to do, because we know we're going up against SA-10s and 11s, we'll put our defensive countermeasures onto XMIT, which means if they try and lock us up or fire a missile at us, our computer, our jet, will start jamming them, and it will reduce the range they can lock us up at, but it'll also increase the probability of the missile missing us, which is a very good thing. I prefer my missiles nowhere near my jet. Or my missiles I prefer right there. Hostile missiles I prefer nowhere. On the ground in pieces. So I'm actually going to come back on the throttle a bit. We don't need to be going high speed everywhere. Of course, if we see someone on radar or we're told there's someone that we need to intercept, we can go increase the power. But if we maintain a lower power setting now, we'll have more fuel available to do that with. And try and get this Tomcat autopilot to work. Looks like it wants to work today. Well, that's good news. So now we wait. Yeah, we're just waiting. We'll go to waypoint 1, which is 44 miles, slightly left of the nose, and we're doing 355 knots over the ground. Which is interesting, usually ground speed is higher than air speed. But that's okay. Must be a bit of a wind or something on. So we'll go back to the tactical information display instead of our nav page. The actual TID is in the Rio's cockpit about here, and this is just a repeater. And if we had an actual Rio on, I probably wouldn't be on the TID, I'd be navigating, but because Jester doesn't do great. 346 for 100. So, power up to mil. So we're going to get our nose onto the bogies, which pretty much is. Actually, it was 346. So I turned the wrong way. Let's ignore that. I wouldn't do something so silly. Oh, yep. So there we go, we can see them at the top of the TID. And because they're on the bottom, the chevron is the bottom half, that means they're a data link contact. Which makes sense, because our AWACS is telling us that they're there. And it's, if they, to begin with, we'll get a staple at the top of them, which means we can see them on radar, but we haven't got a track and identified whether they're friend or not. And then if we identify them as... If we identify them as hostile, we'll get a diamond on the top as well.
Roger, same. Hear that, boys? Bastards are dead ahead.
So now, we've been told to intercept and monitor. There's the staple. And you can see how they're reporting different altitude blocks. Because 15,000 is where the cutoff is between the two different altitude blocks, it's not surprising that they're reporting different altitudes. Now what we're going to do, we're not going to arm or anything because we've been told to intercept and monitor.
We have a bandit 2 ship, Bra, 340, 72 miles.
If we're told to engage, then we go master arm and select weapons. But we've been told to play nice. So unfortunately we've got to play nice for a bit. Hopefully we get a chance to start playing slightly less nice. But we'll see what they decide to do. And this time we're not going to cheat and get a hard lock before they tell us to. Because the story's right. If you get a hard lock on someone, it's not a friendly act most of the time. Because, yeah, hard lock is the step before firing a missile. Now the other thing we've got to remember is we've been told to maintain 25 nautical miles from the coast of Russia. Oh. Which, we're a fair way off the coast now, we're... How far is this? About 65 miles. But if we start seeing the coast about there or so on the vision, then we start being worried. Oh. So this little tail that little tail that we can see is their velocity compared to us. And so if it's pointing towards us, they're headed towards us. The fact that it was going smaller and turning around, and it was getting shorter and then changing direction shows that they were slowing down compared to us and starting to head sideways. And the easiest way to do that, and the way they would do that, is by turning around. Now we didn't watch them for long enough to know that they fully turned around and didn't come back. But we did watch them long enough to know that they did turn around. And Focus will continue watching them for us, and if he determines that they're just doing an orbit to trick us, he'll send us back on him. Anyway, bringing the power back down, and we will continue cruising. So this LSO grade, obviously there's some computers that are landing on the carrier. Yep, some F14s have just landed on the carrier. So it's not actually us getting an LSO grade, because that's the landing signals officer. We can't get that without landing on the carrier. And as far as I know, aircraft carriers are not at 23,000 feet. Then again, we shouldn't be at 23,000 feet, so just descend a bit. Descend. Okay, so we're pretty much at waypoint 1. And it wants us to press spacebar when we go past it. I'm going to say now. Select destination.
Wilco, switching to steer point 2.
Be careful on flights at 25 miles of the coastline. That's Soviet airspace, and we don't want to make the situation worse than it is now.
Yeah, it's not us that have to be
Focus by
concerned.
Roger. That's too bad. We were about to go sightseeing over Moscow, pushing to waypoint 2.
Can you imagine what the Russians would do if we went sightseeing over Moscow? In armed Tomcat. I wouldn't say fully armed Tomcat. Fully armed would be either 4 Phoenixes on the entire belly or 6 Phoenixes. 6 Phoenix Tomcat is a sight to behold. Unless you're a Russian, in which case it's a sight to fear. And of course this is Cold War stuff, this is not modern. I've got nothing against the Russians, it's playing to Cold War campaign. I guess I probably should be calling them the Soviet Union. Let's do this crew contract. Should see this window change, but yeah, it doesn't actually change. I think there's something broken with these windows. Because that should have changed to something different, I believe. Anyway, we're going to change him back because
So, Grim, how do you like your first deployment so far? Pretty awesome. But also kind of boring. You know what I mean? I miss my friends and family. And surfing. Come on. Flying an F14 Tomcat surely makes up for it.
yeah, Tomcat's an awesome aircraft.
How a beach bum like you ended up as a naval aviator beats me. Just pull your head out of your ass and keep your eye on your triple delta, will you? No sweat, bro. I got this.
A bit of friendly banter there. Yes, the little yak heading straight into Russian territory. It's meant to be a Greek one. So this is the waypoint path we're meant to be doing. Point of closest approach should be about 26 miles. but let's just say we're going to keep this side, the carrier side of the waypoints, which we are doing. Because yeah, we don't want to anger the Soviet Union. They would not take kindly to us incurring on their territory. See if we can change these. HUD filter on. So the HUD's still on, it's just in night mode. You can sort of see it there. And we can do the same to the VDI. So that's max brightness at night. And on the night mission I had almost no brightness. So that's how much difference we can make these screens go between. Now if we had a real Rio here, we can make him panic. If we do this, all of the warning and caution lights come on. And in the back seat they've got a caution panel and they've got a master caution. And of course that starts flashing at them. So I've done that to a few Rios. Most of them haven't actually noticed, which is kind of sad. Doesn't actually change anything, it just turns all the lights on to check if they're working, because these all have physical bulbs in them, and if a bulb blows then the light doesn't turn on. And if it's like these lights, engine stalls or the fire lights and stuff, really want to make sure those are working. Now the engine fire lights. So yeah, it's a built-in test, which is what bit is.
Making my palms sweaty. I hope those commies down there are not too happy.
Yep, it's very close.
Don't worry, they were tracking us in the morning as well. I guess they don't want the Cold War to turn hot either.
They know we'd smash their backsides. Smash them to pieces, that's what we do to them. Let's see what we can find in here. We go into navigation. Yeah, so this is how we'd do that ball stuff. We'd go into nav grid. But to get Jester to use that page very well is quite hard. Select mode. Transport, perceive and guard. So you can, guard's like an auxiliary channel. It's the emergency channel. So we can, like if I wanted to change to guard, that's all it takes. Turning that from anywhere to guard. And so what we do is we just, all aircraft should be monitoring guard, should be listening to guard in case someone calls out that they've got an emergency or something's happening. And again, this is one of the things that doesn't happen too often in DCS, because if you get shot down, you just respawn. No one needs to come and pick you up and whatever. Oh, that's interesting. So we can actually see a data link contact of a hostile out there. They're not closing very fast because the tail's quite small and close to their aircraft. There's two there. Tomcat, Tomcat, Tomcat. Hiding from us. So again, Spacebar and report.
Pontiac 1 passing waypoint 2 at Angel 2-1. Any word?
Roger that. Switching to steer point 3.
Pontiac 1 focus, wait 1.
Uh-oh. So that means we've got to wait a minute. So they're obviously figuring something out. I'm going to guess it's those guys that we can see there. We'll increase the range on the display. And we can do this.
Okay.
So this is now going to zoom us out.
Pontiac 1, we have a pop-up group of 2 bogies out of Sanaki climbing through Angel 10 headed your way. Snap heading 109, intercept and monitor.
Snap heading 109.
Pontiac 1 copies, nose on bogies, request ROE. ROE is weapons hold. I say again, weapons hold. Pontiac 1 monitoring weapons hold.
So in the real world, when we get this message, we'll actually be seeing this group somewhere. I'm not sure if it is this group. They say it's coming out of Sanaki, so it should be on our nose. And that group is most definitely not on our nose. But in the real world, by the time the E2 sees it, they're transmitting it to us. But for now, we're just going to follow what they say, and eventually it will come up on our screen. Because yeah, the voices that we're hearing is mostly the scripting, and so the scripting's based on timing and trigger zones, not whether an aircraft can actually see the group. So we're just waiting for an aircraft, whether it's us or the E2 or someone else, to pick them up. I'm going to say this aircraft at 2-something thousand feet, or anywhere between 15 and 25,000 feet. Oh, that's probably the AWACS, and this will be the group that we were told to intercept and monitor. So I'm going to, well, intercept them. So that's the in-game AWACS telling us.
Roger.
So MiG-23s have long-range heat-seeking or medium-range heat-seeking missiles, medium-range Fox 1s, which will give us a warning. The heat-seekers are the dangerous ones, though, because they don't tell us that they're being fired.
Have radar contact. 2 ships. What the hell are they up to? No idea, man. I don't know. The caveman jaws are up today. Great balls of fire.
So, see how we've now got
There's
the
a
diamond
bandit 2
on the
ships,
top?
raw, 105, 77 miles.
Means Jester can see them with the radar. And we've
I
got
got nails on our nose. 12
the ones on the
o'clock.
bottom, which means the data link is transmitting it. MiG-23, so their radar is seeing us. Not a problem. Radars go off infinitely. There's nothing wrong with seeing their radar. It's if they start moving out. Yeah, if their radar warning receiver starts beeping more and starts flashing or moves to the outer ring, then we need to be worried. Flashing is missile, outer ring is hard lock. So the inside circle is just information about the RWR. Then we've got search radars, and then we've got radars that can fire a missile at us but aren't in that mode at the moment. Then we've got radars that are locking us, and if they're flashing in this ring, then they're firing a missile at us. Now, actually, I'm going to tell Jester to go to radio 2 so that I can use my front radio.
Heads up, I've got Nails 11 o'clock. And Nails
to talk to this guy, which is how it should have been. I should have got Jester to change. Jester should have been the one changing to the AWACS frequency, and I should have been maintaining channel 1. So we technically couldn't have heard anything that these guys have said, but you know. So they're getting very close. 30 miles is about the range of one of their heat seekers. 30 miles is sort of a long range shot for their heat seekers. So I'm going to get Phoenix selected, but Master Arm is not on. Just means we're...
Roger that.
So there's obviously some INS inaccuracy because this radar contact and the data link contact should be right on top of each other. But that just happens with older aircraft, well, with all aircraft.
Focus, they're coming straight at us. Request permission to fire. Negative Pontiac, no fire until fired upon.
Okay, I have visual on them. So we're going to be watching them. I've just slowed down a bit so that we've got more time. Autopilot's coming off. So they're just up top left of our bore sight cross. Now I don't want to cover them with anything because I want to see if they fire a missile, then I'll be going Master Arm and pulling the trigger. If they get to within 10 miles, then I'll be going ACM switch up, which speeds up the launch time of missiles. Also changes the mode that the Phoenix is launched in and a couple of other things.
Lights on.
So ACM up. They're locking 2. Oh, they're splitting.
He's on a nose spike, 12 o'clock.
That's a
Missile launch,
missile.
12 o'clock. Hot. Break right. Spike on our nose, 12 o'clock.
So we're going to avoid flight and engage bandits.
Bandit. Rig 23, 6 o'clock. 6 miles.
You're clear to defend yourself. Weapons free, weapons free.
So
One engaging.
we fired a active missile, which has gone and tracked them,
You're gonna regret this, suckers.
and we've killed one already.
11 o'clock. 12 o'clock.
Coming around, we'll get this second one with a Fox 1. Fox 1. And Splash 2. So now we'll go Master Arm to safe.
Pontiac. Good hit on one.
Lose track. Uh-oh. We've actually killed both and they're only
Bandit is
reporting
going
one.
down.
Pontiac 1, focus, I confirm. Bandits are down. You're clear to RTB. Pontiac 2 will relieve you on station 5 mics.
Okay, so we're now heading back to base.
Roger, Pontiac 1 is RTB.
So we'll tell 2 to return to base.
Flight, RTB.
We'll get TID range back to a reasonable
Roger.
number. 120 miles. ACM switch down. Sidewinder cool. Something important in the real world. There's only a limited amount of fluid. So we'll get that off. fact, I might even start keeping that off, because when we go to ACM up, it turns Sidewinder to cool on, and it only takes 30 seconds or something to cool it. So really, we only need to have missile prep on, because, yeah, I'm not going to use either the gun or the Sidewinder without going to ACM mode. Now all we're doing is we're going to follow the tachyon needle back to the boat. So yes, first blood is accurate. So I'm pretty happy with how that engagement went. I possibly should have not fired the Phoenix to begin with. I should have just flared and avoided the missile. Luckily my flares trashed their missile, and therefore my not avoiding fast enough wasn't a problem. But it could have been. Then other than that, yep, single Phoenix active, launched in ACM. Took out the lead guy. As soon as the missile was off, I turned to avoid getting into a merge. I don't really want to merge, and to avoid any missiles, because we had one on us. And then I've come back around, single Fox 1 onto the secondary guy. During the turn, you noticed I did do some radio stuff. Now that wouldn't have had to happen in the real world, because 2 would know as soon as we've been fired upon, you can return fire. But I had to tell the computer to do that. I know it's a bit confusing because we're dealing with multiple different computers that aren't really talking to each other.
80 miles, Angels 16, and a friendly Bra 275, 75 miles, Angels 46, scratch that, Angels 27.
So that's a bit of a difference, Jester, between Angels 46 and 27. 46 is achievable, but in fact, let's do it. We're 110 miles from the carrier. Burner on. We'll go burner abort at 8,000 pounds. But let's see what we can get this cat up to. We're also going to go jettison the drop tanks. Try now.
Roger. Jettison bags.
So we're in quite a clean jet. We've got 1 sparrow and 3 winders, and we're doing what the Tomcat was designed to do: fly high and fast. And we have been defending the fleet, so let's get it going. Wings are coming back. Beautiful sight. So there you go, the wings all the way back. And yep, they're in the full back, 68 degrees aft position.
Focus Pontiac 2. 2 F14s on station is flagged.
So we're now coming up through Mark 1 in a climb.
Angel 25. Focus Pontiac 2. Copy zone.
So we're coming up through Mark 1.1, still in a fairly reasonable climb.
Holy shit, my legs are still shaking. Can you
Just gonna come out of burn. I don't need it.
Yeah. Let's just hope the Russians have learned their lesson.
We can hope the Russians have learnt their lesson. Anyone actually expect the Russians to have learnt their lesson by now? So... just coming down through supersonic, we're now subsonic. We're gonna try and get this autopilot to work for us again. So we're just gonna head back to the boat now and try and land aboard, and then we'll be starting up the next mission, I think. Yeah, we'll have time for the next mission. Just have to... Okay, autopilot's getting us settled out. 70 miles from the boat. I'm actually going to cheat a little and time warp ahead. So we'll get time going a little bit faster. Of course that makes it a little bit jerkier because DCS has still got to think about what everything's doing. So I don't know what that beeping is. It's a lot higher frequency than it would be because of the time distortion. And we'll jump out at 30 miles. And start our descent to the carrier. So we'll get Chester to select channel 7.
Copy that.
And we'll not, actually we'll do it properly. We'll roll inverted, come down, add to burner, because I have a need for speed. Just gotta watch to make sure we don't A, crash into the water, and B, pull up too hard and snap the wings off. Because doing 800 plus knots, that's not hard. And as fast as we could go last time we did this, we had Phoenixes and tanks on still. This time we got nothing. And we do sort of need to do this. We need to reduce our weight before landing. So, yeah, we'll get our total weight down a bit. We can come aboard with this much, but going so fast it's actually off the needle, off the meter. Let's use this meter. Oh yeah, 900 knots. 900 knots over the deck. Request a flyby.
Rough Rider, this is Pontiac 1-1 requesting a flyby. Negative Pontiac 1, tentative full.
Oops, too late. We're going too fast. Boom! So that flyby request menu item was way too late to be usable when you're coming in at 900 knots. And of course, if it's a real one, real carrier and mission, I wouldn't just blaze past at 900 knots. But, you know, it's a game, we've got to have some fun sometimes. I'm going to see if I can do a straight in approach. AWL. I think we're probably going to be too fast to do this though. Break the gear off. I'm dropping it way too fast. We're a lot fast.
Wings are 20 auto, gears down, sat on, flaps full, DLC engaged and checked, hook down, harness locked, speed brakes out, spoiler brakes off.
That should have 4-wire.
So that would have completely destroyed the carrier again. One of these things we only do in game. That would have destroyed the... Oh, the hook's still connected. We would have just ripped that wire straight off coming in that fast. But... and now we'd actually be able to hear the crew cheering. Let's get everything shut down because we can. That out, off, that off, that off. Okay, so that's it for the mission. And we'll see in a second. 2 planes got shot down, both of which are me. So that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.